Hi everybody, we're back for Chapter 3 of Frog and Toad Are Friends. Chapter 3 is called A Lost Button, page 28, and here it is, A Lost Button. Toad and Frog went for a long walk. They walked across a large meadow. They walked in the woods. They walked along the river. At last, they went back to Toad's house.
"Oh, drat," said Toad. "Not only do my feet hurt, but I have lost one of my buttons on my jacket."
Right there, look at that. One button is missing. And they walked a lot of places, huh?
Don't worry,
Said Frog.
we will go back to all the places where we walked. We will soon find your button.
They walked back to the large meadow. They began to look for the button in the tall grass.
Here's your button.
Cried Frog.
"That is not my button," said Toad. "That button is black. My button was white."
Toad put the black button in his pocket. A sparrow flew down. "Excuse me," said the sparrow. "Did you lose a button? I found one."
"That is not my button," said Toad. "That button has 2 holes. My button has 4 holes."
Toad put the button with 2 holes in his pocket. They went back to the woods and looked on the dark paths.
Here's your button.
Said Frog.
"That is not my button," cried Toad. "That button is small. My button was big."
Toad put the small button in his pocket. Everybody's trying to help Toad, huh? A raccoon came out from behind a tree.
I heard that you are looking for a button.
He said.
Here's one that I just found.
"That is not my button,"
Wailed Toad.
"That button is square. My button was round."
Toad put the square button in his pocket. He's putting all the buttons in his pocket. Why is he doing that? Frog and Toad went back to the river. They looked for the button in the mud.
Here's your button.
Said Frog.
"That is not my button," shouted Toad. "That button is thin. My button was thick."
He's getting angry. Toad put the thin button in his pocket. He was very angry. He jumped up and down and screamed,
"The whole world is covered with buttons, and not one of them is mine!"
Toad ran home and slammed the door. There, on the floor, he saw his white, 4-holed, big, round, thick button.
"Oh,"
Said Toad.
"it was here all the time. What a lot of trouble I have made for Frog."
Not just for Frog, huh? For everybody. He got angry. That happens sometimes. Toad took all of the buttons out of his pocket. He took his sewing box down from the shelf. Toad sewed the buttons all over his jacket. The next day, Toad gave his jacket to Frog. Look, now Toad is naked on the top. Frog is wearing the jacket. Frog thought it was just beautiful. He put it on and jumped for joy. None of the buttons fell off. Toad had sewed them on very well. That's a nice gift, isn't it? Do you think he knew that he was gonna sew those buttons onto that jacket? Do you think he knew that he was gonna find his button and then he was gonna feel bad? Like, what was he thinking when he picked up those buttons, right? Because he ended up putting them onto the jacket. That's a nice story. That was the story called A Lost Button. A Lost Button. And the next story is A Swim. And that was the 3rd chapter from Frog and Toad Are Friends. Thanks for watching.